24 Hours of Le Mans took place nearly 3 weeks ago. GT World Challenge America has been producing fantastic racing since the introduction of the 3 hour format this season. IndyCar has delivered thrilling races at times this season, especially the last lap finish to the Indy 500. And the IndyCar driver market season, or silly season, is well underway after Felix Rosenqvist announced his shock exit at the end of the season from Meyers Racing. My name's Ryan Walker, and with me today is Ryan Myrehn to catch up with me to talk about the Le Mans, which I was at, and also recapping the action from the IMSA WeatherTech Championship from Watkins Glen. And Ryan, it's good to have you back on as well. Thanks for your time.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. And before we get too deep into it, the last time I talked to you, you hadn't yet been to Le Mans. I want to hear all about your experience. Did it live up to what everybody told you to expect?
As soon as you mentioned that, I started getting goosebumps because it's one of those Le Mans, as you know, and as some other people know, that Le Mans I've wanted to visit for a long time, but just things have not aligned or circumstances have got in the way. But this year, I managed to finally make it over, and I'm so glad I did. It was such a fantastic experience. And if anyone listens to this and is thinking about going next year, do not hesitate. Make the journey. You'll not regret it.
I couldn't agree more. There's nothing quite like it. Such a special event, and I know it meant a lot for you to get to be there. I wasn't there this year. I was doing some work stateside for SRO, but I was following your journey on social media and just enjoying from afar, watching how much fun it seemed like you were having.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone that follows me on say on X or Twitter, as I still call it, they just force of habit. But yeah, I kind of, in a way, I wouldn't say I felt bad, but I kind of felt like on the one hand I was maybe rubbing it in people's faces that weren't able to be there. But looking back at it, I was glad I shared it because it's like Le Mans. I'm a big Le Mans fanatic, Le Mans geek, whatever you want to call it, and just getting to be there to experience the atmosphere at the track amongst the fans and just in general, it was so awesome, and I'm definitely planning to go back next year if I can get the time off work again.
Well, that's the trouble, isn't it? The rest of the world has to cooperate, but I wouldn't feel too bad about sharing it. I would say that's something early in my career I struggled a little bit with. I didn't want to make it seem like I was bragging that I was at these events, but my hope is that when I do share pictures or stories of my experience, that it just brings home to people how special this opportunity is. I know firsthand how lucky I am to be in this position, and maybe it brings people a little bit closer to these events and encourages them to get out and enjoy them as well at some point.
Absolutely, and for people that might be listening as well, thinking like, how did my journey to Le Mans come about? It's a bit like like a motorsport team, for example. They're looking at doing a race, but they don't want to like jump straight in. They want to kind of look at it how preparation goes, like what you might need to do, like basically with regards to like stuff that you might need to take, money that you might need to take, even learning simple stuff like the language, for example. But I mean, I haven't spoken proper French for a very long time, so I was a bit, I wouldn't say nervous, but just kind of you're in a new country, or I have been to France before, but not for a long time, so getting to grips with the country and just having to learn the language again, just learning like basic French, for example, I kind of struggled with for the first couple of days. But once you get used to it, it's like second nature. You get used to it, and it's basically you don't have to know a good amount of French, but basically just I guess the basics. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it's just one of those things that basically I was just basically spent a couple of years preparing for it, and then basically this year managed to make it over. And there's so much stuff to do. I mean, I arrived with a couple of friends on Tuesday morning, I think it was, and basically set up camp, and then after that I kind of took a walk around, not around the track, but basically around the campsite, and that basically I went up to, you probably saw pictures of it. I went up to Molesang Corner when I arrived, and just I was just kind of standing there, when you're you're standing there in silence, just taking it in, just like basically saying to myself, I'm actually here at my favorite track for my favorite race, and it's like I say, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it again because it's just it's a race that I've wanted to attend for a long time, and yeah, I'll go into detail for race week as well. But I know you've been to Le Mans, Ryan. You went last year, I believe, as part of the radio show limited team, I think. So, how did you find the experience when you went over? Because I know
It
that
was
you've spoke about it before.
yeah, that was special. So I've been lucky to go 4 times. I went 2 times, 2017 and 18, when I was working for Sports Car 365. So working the event and doing so as a print journalist, which is a different experience even than working on radio as I did last year. And then I went for the 100th anniversary as well in 2023 just as a fan. So I've seen it from a couple different points of view, and it is just a spectacular event for so many reasons. There's nothing else quite like it. The Indy 500 is similar. I tell people who've been to Indy that haven't been to Le Mans that Le Mans is the Indy 500 with a French accent, because the a lot of the things about the event are similar. It's really part of the
Yeah,
identity of the town. There's a lot of pomp and circumstance pre-race. There's history. There's tradition, but of course they have their own differences as well. But I think those two events stand above anything else that I've been privileged to either cover or attend.
when I was there as well, it felt good as well in a way to like basically I was there with friends as I mentioned, but just getting to interact with other fans as well that have the same passion for Le Mans because I was speaking to someone or a couple of people as well saying that they've been loads of times but they never stop getting excited about being there because it just feels one of my friends actually mentioned it last week. He said he probably described it best when I was talking to him about it afterwards. He said it feels like you're on is it Hollow Ground or something like that because it's just such a place steeped in tradition, steeped in history, like you mentioned. And I think that's maybe for first time people like myself visiting. It probably took me a couple of days to take it all in, just kind of just realize that I'm actually here attending this race that I've wanted to attend for a long time. And what I like about it as well during race week, you can actually go around the track as well. You don't need to just stand at one part of the track. For example, I was at Mulsanne Corner, and then during race week, during practice on, I think it was either practice one or practice two on the Wednesday. I started at Mulsanne and then took a walk down to the straight heading down to Indianapolis. Is it? Oh, I can't remember the name of the section, but it's basically you've got like a big like banking that you can stand on and watch the cars going by. And
Yes.
I did post some videos as well from the one of the straights heading down to Indianapolis and just watching the speed of the cars going by. Basically you don't realize how on TV it looks like they're going quick, but when you're actually there in person, they're actually going like vroom, like actually flying by. And I think the moment I got really excited, like kind of like jumping up and down, was basically when I saw the Cadillac hypercar and the Aston Martin Valkyrie going by. You think they're loud on TV? My God, they're actually loud in person. You can actually feel like, say, like I can feel my feet or the ground like vibrate. They're so loud, and it's just, yeah, I got excited when I saw them going by because it was they're two of the hypercars that I've wanted to see in person for a long time, and getting to witness them in person is just it was like unbelievable. And then for people that are asking, how do you get around the track during race week? Can you walk around the track or so? You don't. If you have a car, you could probably drive around yourself, but they do like buses to different parts of the track. So on the Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday night for night practice. I think it was. So this is round about 11 o'clock. I think it was because obviously they do night practice from I can't remember what time on Wednesday or Thursday, but they do night practice anyway. So a bunch of us went from where we were camping at Mulsanne. We went to like Arna's Corner and they up to Indianapolis. And I kid you not, what the speed that the cars go through the kink before Indianapolis, the fast kink is just like no one lifts, especially in the prototypes, and it's just like wow, like actually just I I was actually standing there like total in silence because the cars they were going so quick and they weren't even lifting. It's just unbelievable, and I think if I would definitely recommend that spot to go and watch at some point during race week. If it's night practice, just practice, even like hyperpole qualifying, that I would definitely recommend there. So What spots did you watch at the track? I mean, I think you watched at the when you visited in 2023. You were watching from I think it was it through the as it was called then the was it the Dunlop S's I think.
Yeah, that's where we spent most of our time. Certainly on the Saturday during the race, during the practices, kind of again similar that part of the track up and down that section up to Tete Rouge and back. And then my father was actually racing in the Mustang Challenge race that weekend, which added a little bit to. Well, that was not that weekend, was it? That must have been that was last year. So I'm
Yeah, I
conflating the two
think that was
experiences.
I think
That was last
24.
year. Yeah, because I was there while I was working, and the radio folks were kind and gave me those sessions off so I could actually sit in the pits with them, with my dad's team, and be on the radio and things like that, which I really enjoyed. But I did make it down to that Indianapolis Arnage section in 23, and I had been there once before. I think it was in 2017. John DeGeese, who runs Sports Car 365, he is also an accredited photographer, and he was going down to that section to do some shooting, and so he just dropped me off there, and I got to sit and watch for about an hour, and that was during the LMP1 hybrid days. And the thing that jumped out to me about those cars, first, it is as you described, going through the kink, how fast they are, and that was even more so with LMP1. But actually, it was the jump that they got out of the Indianapolis left-hander. You could see visually when they engaged that four-wheel drive and the electric power. I don't know how to describe it to you except it looked like a cartoon where all of a sudden one car speeds up and everything else kind of stays the same. It was breathtaking to see, and it really drove home just what remarkable machines those LMP1 hybrids were at the very end of their run.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me sad in a way that I mean it was great to attend Le Mans for 3 weeks ago, getting to see the hypercars in person. But I do have one regret as well is not getting to see the LMP1 hybrid cars they race at Le Mans because just watching the onboards of them, just basically say for example in corner exit, like the way they take off, they take off like woof, like basically just like that, just at the click of
Yeah,
a finger, and they're gone. Just even watching some like the GT Pro or GTM on boards, like seeing the hybrid cars just flying by, like basically, and then be disappearing and within maybe 5 or 10 seconds, it's like just unbelievable. But I can understand why LMP1 they back then it kind of I guess they vanished in a way because the costs they were skyrocketing to the point that pretty much they most of the manufacturers are starting to pull out. I mean, the Audi, for example, they pulled out because of what was going on. Not just because of the cost, but what was going on at the time with within the Volkswagen with the Dieselgate, and unfortunately Porsche followed suit not long after, and I think it was just a sign of the times that with the rising costs and the money that I was told, I won't say what the figure was, but the money that was being spent was just like crazy money to the point it was just I guess it was unsustainable. So I guess in a way it's good that hypercars are around. I mean, there's money being spent still, but not to the I guess not to the crazy level that was being spent in the LMP1 back in the LMP1 days. So, but yeah, and then basically moving on to Thursday. But again, I think I posted about it on my Twitter page. So basically being there as well, getting to see the team that I support, the Heart of Racing, being there as well, and seeing one of the our was it a hypercars make it through to hyperpole was being there and witnessing that. It just felt probably sounds silly for saying it, but it felt like kind of emotional in a way. But getting to see being there for the first time, seeing a team that I support get one of the cars through to the hyperpole, and then to make it even better or even more emotional, they've seen the Heart of Racing take pole in the LNGT3 class with the 27 car with the Matteo Drude as well. Matteo Drude putting down, in my opinion, I know his first lap got taken away because of track limits, but basically his second lap that I watched as well, just watching him coming through like Mulsanne corner, just fully committed and just basically going I guess balls to the wall if you like, but just being fully committed and taking watching him take the class pole position in the hyperpole session, it felt like kind of like the emotional being there to see it, and like on my first visit, and it's something that I'll never forget. But unfortunately, in the race, we the 27 was running well, and then basically I think it was with 2 or 3 hours remaining, round about that, they unfortunately retired of gearbox troubles, I think. So yeah, it was a bit of a bummer, I guess. But yeah, we'll lead up to the race as well. But again, seeing that, it felt really good and it felt emotional, like I say. And I guess as well as you've probably felt like that as well in a way, Ryan. That being there, maybe just being there, feeling emotional, but getting to getting to witness something that in motorsport, just in general.
Definitely. I go back to, I think that would have been I can't remember if it was the first year or second year, but whichever year Kamui set the track record in
Mm.
qualifying in the LMP1, I was there for that, and that that was really remarkable. And you had the sense at the time that something really special had occurred. And I remember him talking about that lap, and at the time it wasn't in the current hyperpole setup, so it was in a more open qualifying session. There were GT cars on track, and he mentioned catching the traffic at just the right time so it didn't impede his lap. How the wind down the Mulsanne was at his tail, and then it shifted subtly so that now it was a headwind when he needed it through the Porsche curves for a little bit of extra downforce there. And it all came together in this lap of the gods kind of situation. And especially to hear him explain how it came together, that really drove home just how special it was that we were there to witness that from trackside.
Yeah, and I think as well, I think Kimura Kobayashi, I think he's one of those drivers that in the right now, I think even though he's been racing at Le Mans and sports car racing in general for quite a while now, I think in my opinion he's still one of those drivers that doesn't really get the credit he deserves. I mean, he can wheel a car, like basically put in quick laps, like quick qualifying laps, or basically just like produce good stints when he needs to. And I think he's one of those drivers that doesn't get the credit he deserves. But I would definitely put him up there as probably one of the quickest hypercar drivers at the moment, and also as well with him being, I think he's team principal of Toyota Racing now. So
Correct.
like balancing that that team principal role with driving, I think he does a good job of that, and I think as well it's good to see him branching out in other series of racing. I mean, take IMSA for example, racing at the Daytona in the past, and again he's if you've not watched any of his races, especially in IMSA and at Daytona, his stints at Daytona are probably one of the craziest but best stints I've watched in a long time. And I think, fingers crossed, when I go to Daytona next year, I get to see him race in person. Because I saw him race in person at Le Mans this year, but just something about him racing at Daytona, he just seems to, whenever he races there, he just seems to come alive and produce fantastic stints when he has to.
He is spectacular, worth the price of admission. And your point about his stints at Daytona, I don't know, the last 5, 6 years that he's been coming somewhat regularly, he has been absolutely phenomenal. So I echo your sentiments. If people are underrating him, that is on them. He is awesome and has been for some time. Even as he's probably reaching the twilight of his driving career, you still, if you need a quick lap or a big stint out of someone, he's on my short list too. That he'd be the guy I'd plug into a car.
And then headed to, like I said, we headed to Thursday as well. Obviously, we had the hyperpole sessions as well, and I had to basically I can't. I think they changed the format slightly for hyperpole this year, but I can't remember what it was how it was exactly. But I yeah, there's some standout performances in hyperpole, especially in hypercar. I mean, when you look at a Jack Aitken, a name that's familiar, everyone recognises from racing with was it Action Express Racing in IMSA, but this year he's joined the team over at Jota Sport for the WEC as well. So I think yeah, Jack's always been one of those drivers that I've rated really highly since he's made the move to racing in GTP and hypercar for this season in the WEC. And I think his even though his lap got taken away, his performance in the hyperpole session to originally take the pole position for the hypercar class was but probably one of the best laps I've seen. But it's just a shame that it got taken away. I can't remember the reason exactly for it, but I think it was down to being in the fast lane for the hyperpole session too early. I think so. What's is a bit harsh, but I can understand that rules are rules. That you've got to abide by them. So, but I think in the race, Jack made up for it. He put in some fantastic stints, and I think at one point he made a fantastic move to take the lead during the race. And unfortunately, I think later on during the night or early hours of Sunday morning, I think they retired because of was it a power steering failure, I think, or something like that. So one of those things. But I think Jack made his name, even though he's made his name a long time ago in IMSA. I think for at Le Mans this year, he definitely put his name right up there as one of those drivers to watch whenever he's on track. So, yep, I think so far this season, if it was to come to a driver that I would vote for driver of the season so far, I would definitely put Jack Aitken up there. But yeah, I don't know about you, Ryan, if you've watched the WEC so far this season when you've had a chance.
I do when I can. Yes, I can't say. I can't say I've watched all of it. Well, certainly I didn't see much of Le Mans at all because we were busy with SRO America that weekend, and candidly, that's something I hope can be avoided in the future. And it looks at the moment it looks good. There shouldn't at least be an SRO America clash with Le Mans. But I just hate to see any calendar clashes with these big events, which is happening with increasing regularity. It feels like I grant you it's difficult to put calendars
Mm-hmm.
together, and I'm glad I'm not the one in charge of trying to do that. But it does make it difficult for a race fan like you or like me that would love to watch as much of this as possible. But to your point about Aiken, I mean across the board, whether it's what he's done for Joda, whether it's what he's done for Action Express, he has been excellent, a standout performer this year. The only counterpoint I would provide, and it's strictly about what he's done at IMSA, is what Lauren Heinrich has done across
Yeah,
both the Porsche Penske program and most recently with JDC to give the privateer team a win at Laguna Seca and then to be on the podium most recently here at Watkins Glen. I think what he's done does gather some attention, but what Jack has done across multiple championships stands alone a little bit. And the fact that he's not been off the podium in IMSA since the Indianapolis race last September, that's remarkable. What a fantastic streak that they've been on. At least that was the case coming into Watkins Glen. So, yeah, his performances have been fantastic, and yeah, you really can't quibble with the results.
yeah. You mentioned Lauren Heinrich as well. Lauren is someone that I've watched for a long time, not just say like in real life racing, but I know he's been on. I think he raced in. I think it was at German Formula Four for a while. I think, but
Yeah,
I
for
think
his family's team, it was
yeah,
just
for his
like him and
family's
his
team.
dad. Yeah.
And then I think unfortunately it is one of those things with open wheel racing when you're trying to get up the ladder. It's, yeah, unfortunately I don't think they had the budget or the finance to continue. So Lauren had to take a break from real life racing for quite a while, and he actually I actually came across his name, or I first heard of his name on iRacing, and that I kept an eye on him on iRacing, and I was thinking to myself, this kid is a real deal. If he can get back into real life racing, I think he could be one to look out for. And I think he went on to race in the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, I think it was, and he actually I think as well. I can't remember what year it was, but he won the championship. And and I think with that as well, he became a Porsche. I don't want to say affiliated. I think a Porsche Junior or basically a Porsche, basically part of the Porsche like development program, I guess you could call it. So yeah, basically he raced in the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, which is where I properly started taking note of him and watching his performances. And then obviously he's been coming through, like basically the Porsche ladder, if you like. And I think basically started racing in IMSA with I can't remember the year, but it was with AO Racing, and I think he as well. I think was it his second season or second season? I think it was. I'm happy to be corrected that he won the championship with
First
the AO
season.
Racing. Yeah, so I think that's an impressive weight impressive way to, I guess, make your name, and especially in IMSA where there's so many top names, top drivers, a tough strength of competition as well. And I think, especially this year, Lauren has impressed me a lot. He's especially with his win at Daytona. I think that was his first proper race, I guess, in the 963, and to take your first 24-hour race win at Daytona as well. I think his performances were really impressive, especially his night stints uh, as well. And I think and to go on and actually add to that with a win at not Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring. I think his performances and his stints were really impressive, and I think do I think Lauren Heinrich is one to watch in the future as well, uh, as the years going on? Yeah, definitely.
Oh, he's one to watch in the present. He's
Yeah, at the
fantastic.
present, yeah.
But yeah, he's going to be around for a long time. I've been absolutely blown away, and you apparently were on the train a lot earlier than a lot of us because I remember he turned up at an Indy 8 hour a couple years ago and put a Pro Am car on the pole, and that was my introduction to him. I had heard the name a few times, but really hadn't seen what he could do. And then the next year was the first IMSA year with AO and in the Rexy winning the championship as a rookie, which had not happened before in a all pro class of the modern form of IMSA. So that was really remarkable. And then to go out of GTs into prototypes without really any downforce experience beyond GT3 and to be such a quick study has been eye opening. I think most impressive of all, though, is what he's done with the customer team. JDC had never really threatened for a podium or a win in the GTP era. We know it's a good little team. They've won big races. They won Sebring overall back in DPI, but to do this in this much more technical class against a bunch of big factory affiliated teams, and carrying a lineup that is much less experienced as well. I mean, he himself is not very experienced, as you alluded to in the 963, his first full season of it right now. So, what he's done with that little team has cemented his stamp on a star of the present as well as of the future, right?
Yeah, and I mean, especially I think yeah, Laguna Seca as well. I think that performance or final stint by him where he closed down El Bamber and he was putting him under huge pressure. I mean, he could have dive bombed the El into say the corkscrew for example, but I like the way Lauren was. He was aggressive, but he was more. He's kind of he's more. He was controlling that aggression. He wasn't trying to do any silly moves. He was kind of moving around, trying to show Earl his nose, but trying to put him off. And I think, especially as well, once he made that move and pulled away and winning that race with GDC, who are like you say, they're no slouches. They've won races before, but maybe they don't have the backing or resources of say like Porsche Penske, for example, because like Porsche Penske especially, they're running the current version of the 963, I believe, with them being pretty much a factory team. And GDC are still running the 2025 configuration, I think. So
Correct.
I think that performance by Lauren definitely was more impressive because of that. I mean, yeah, fair enough. Maybe I don't like to talk about it too much because I just find it a bit of a boring subject or a broken record subject, if you like, BOP. But I think Lauren's performance was nothing to do with BOP in my opinion. I think that was just pure driving skill, and I think he proved to the world, he showed to the world that yeah, he's a driver to look out for in the future as well, and at the present as you mentioned. But I think next year especially, I'm interested to see how he does with the factory team, with it being his first full season with them, pretty much. So yeah, I think it's good to see him in championship contention, but do I think he could challenge for the championship next year? Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Definitely. Why not? And we should add that he also won his subclass LMP2 Pro Am at Le Mans with George Kirch and Alex Quinn in the CrowdStrike by APR cars. So again, that's a class he didn't know much about before. LMP2 jumps right in the car in the biggest race on the planet and ends up in victory lane once again. So the guy's a winner, full stop.
Yeah, I was impressed by his performance at Le Mans. I mean, as it was his first visit to the track. He literally had no experience of the track. Maybe he might have got some practice on a simulator, maybe like iRacing or the Le Mans Ultimate, for example. They basically on the simulator in general. But his performance as well was just stood out for me. I mean, there was someone that said on Twitter after the race when I said like I getting to see him win that race in person, because I'm a massive supporter of Lon and I have been for a long time. Getting to see him win in person was such a fantastic feeling, and then someone on Twitter said, "Oh, it's not a proper win because it's an LMP2 Pro Am," but I 100% disagree with that. I mean, it doesn't matter what class you win. It might not be an overall win, but a win at Le Mans is still it's still a win, especially with it being such a big race.
Hey, do they give him a trophy?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, it's a win. That answers that question as far as I'm concerned.
And then moving on to Friday as well, but obviously the Friday they had the Road to Le Mans race, but for it wasn't like they had them in the past at Le Mans with that series or that race. It wasn't two races, one on the Thursday and one on the Friday, I think. Instead, on the Friday they made it a 3 hour race, I believe. So, which I think actually worked quite well. I mean, it was a longer race, but I think as well. I think the story I heard at Le Mans anyway, or that I was told at Le Mans, they changed the format because in the past, with it being two races, there was too many incidents, too many crashes, and I think they wanted to try and maybe I guess minimize is the best word for that, to try and minimize the accident and the incidents on track. And I think it was a good format this year because there's loads of good racing throughout the field, especially in GT3, where there was a fantastic last lap battle between one of the drivers was John Baptiste Simonauer, I think it was, and then the other driver I can't remember, but it was a fantastic battle. But unfortunately, it ended up in contact between an LMP3 car and both of the GT3 leaders, and after that, with one of the cars getting a time penalty, I think it was it handed the win to a couple one of the I think the Aston Martin teams, what is it, the Spirit of Le Mans, I think it is, or something like that. It handed the win to a name that you might recognise, Ryan. Was it Valentin Haas-Clot as well? And his teammate that I can't remember, which is bad of me, but yeah, it was a great race. I enjoyed watching it, and then afterwards, I think it was about 2 hours later. Afterwards, the track was closed, or it wasn't. It was closed, but this is the thing I liked about it on the Friday as well. I posted pictures about it on my Instagram page that you could actually walk around the whole track, like cycle. You could walk, you could do whatever, and then as well to make it even better, they put on like a classic car show. I think it was. So basically, you could go around and have a look and just see what was there, and I think that was a fantastic thing as well. It gave the fans a chance to maybe if they're stuck for something to do, they could go and like have a look around. Uh, yeah, I decided to take a walk around the track, and yeah, I think uh, I never realised how big the track was. I thought it'd just be like, yeah, it'll probably take about 30 minutes to get around, but nope. If you're walking around the track, especially, it takes you around about 1 hour and 30 minutes to get round. If something like that, I guess anyway, it is a long track. It's about 13.6 or 7 kilometers, which is a yeah, as big. So if anyone's thinking about going to Le Mans next year and you want to walk the track on the Friday, but make sure you bring some shoes that are comfortable on your feet, because it is a long walk, but it is worth walking around the track because you actually get to see different corners. Like basically, I walked up to the Porsche cars, I walked up to Indianapolis, and then I took a walk up to Mulsanne Corner, and then up to like both chicanes on the Mulsanne Straight, and you, you just getting to walk around and take it all in. It was such a fantastic experience, and then yeah, the only downside was it was very hot, and when I mean hot, it was very hot. So yeah, you can imagine the state of like my face, for example, it was bright red because it was so hot, and yeah, I actually had to sit down for it at one point as well, just because I was not out of breath, but just because yeah, I just felt really like drained because it was just because of the heat. But if you get a chance to walk around the track, do it. It's fantastic.
That's not something I've had a chance to do, so I'll defer to your expertise. But it does sound like a good time and a great way to soak in what makes that place so special. Rare opportunity too to actually be able to get around the whole thing.
Yeah, I never even realized the track was open. It wasn't until one of my friends mentioned to me that yeah, the track's open. If you want to go for a walk around the track, you are free to do so. There's no one stopping you. There's no marshals or security. You can just like walk around the track if you want to. And basically, when I was walking around, I was it was busy, but I was expecting it to be busy, but it was packed. I mean,
Hmm.
you could hardly move. There's people. It's funny. There's people like on skateboards going down like the straight to Indianapolis, and there's people. One of my friends came flying by me on a bike, like kind of like tooting the horn and that, and I'm like, oh, so yeah, you can do what you want. You can cycle around the track. You can do
Okay.
whatever you want, and it is such a fantastic thing. I mean, I think yeah, I don't know if it's something I would love to do. I would love to do at Daytona when I come over next year. I don't know if they allow you to do that or not until after
Hmm.
the race. I mean, I've seen people post pictures of it afterwards, saying that you can walk around, but I don't know if you have to have a like say like a pass or general admission ticket to get on.
I don't know about that. I know in the pre-race, like the front straight, the tri-oval is open, and it's usually packed with people who walk up onto the banking and things like that. But in terms of the whole thing, maybe after the race, but that's not ever something that I've stuck around to do or had the opportunity to do. Usually, either we're still on air or I was writing stories and what have you. So I'm not really sure what happens on the track actually once the checker flag comes out.
And then yeah, as we moved on to Sunday as well, obviously no Sunday, Saturday, sorry, Saturday's race day. So they have like I think it's a 10 minute warm up or 15 minute warm up. So basically that gives the teams to go out and say maybe excuse me, make out or make some setup changes or just basically get reacquainted with the track because obviously like most of the drivers and teams are busy on the Friday with the drivers parade and maybe just having a bit of a bit of relaxation time. And yeah, I didn't watch the warm up myself because yeah, I wanted to try and get as much sleep as possible. Obviously, if you want to try and stay up, my advice would be maybe try and get as much sleep as possible. Go to sleep early on the Friday, and then you're prepared for the Saturday. But yeah, yeah, ra- race start came around as well, and basically I went up to Mulsanne Corner, they just to try and find a spot to watch the race from. And again, I I didn't watch the warm up, but I did get told when I woke up that there was people up at Mulsanne Corner at 8 o'clock in the morning, even before the races started, because they want to try and get the best spot possible. So if anyone's thinking about going, try wherever you want to watch it, try to get there early because it does get busy. I underestimated this with it being my first time. I thought, yeah, I can get up there and still find a spot. Nope, I got up there about 30 minutes before the race started, and yeah, it was managed to find a spot, but yeah, yeah, I was pretty much right behind where I'm sitting now. I was watching right at the back, but you still, I guess in a way it was better because I could see what was coming. I could see much better what was coming towards me. So I think as well. I think I know you had that experience, Ryan, that when you went up to watch it, the Dunlop S's, that even before the race started, 2 or 3 hours before it was busy.
It was. I probably overcompensated, and we got there earlier than we needed to. There was a Ferrari Challenge race that year, as like part of the warm up act, I guess, and we were there well before that, and we had our pick of spots there at Dunlop, and my dad and I were perfectly fine sitting around and waiting. I'm not sure my wife was as impressed with my time management skills, but nevertheless, you live and learn. I had never been as a fan before, so there probably somewhere between the approaches that we each took. Somewhere there's a happy medium. I was probably too early, and you might have benefited from being there a little bit earlier. It sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I yeah, I was getting told like basically if you want to try and get a good spot, even up in the Mozan, try and get there as early as possible. But I went up there probably 30 minutes before, like I mentioned, and still managed to get a reasonable good spot. But it's just, and also as well, with it being really warm this year, I would say if anyone's going and the weather's, if the weather is the same as next year, it when it was hot, like I say, really roasting hot. So make sure you take something like sun cream or something like that to put on your arms, because I did get caught out on the back of my
Bro.
neck and the back. It wasn't bad, but I got caught out in the back of my neck, and my ears were like bright red as well, and that was even with sun cream on as well. So yeah, it proved that how hot it was. I think it got up to about, what was it, about 30 or 31 degrees on the Saturday. Sunday it was still warm, but wasn't as warm. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things. Be prepared to take sun cream just in case. Like, even though sometimes it can rain at Le Mans, it's always better to be on the safe side. So yeah, and I think yeah, yeah, the race got underway as well, and actually just standing there as well, watching the cars coming through, it just felt like again, it felt not emotional, but it kind of felt like I was just standing there, kind of like crossing my arms, like just taking it all in, thinking, yeah, I'm actually watching the start of the 24 hours of Le Mans in person for the first time, and like even being with other fans as well, like cheering and clapping and that, because even and just watching as well. I think especially I was standing next to like a couple of French people as well. Like we were chatting away, just talking about the race as well. The first 2 hours into the race, just talking about like how, like they were asking how are you finding the experience, and I think that's what I liked about it as well. It feels, with sports car racing in general, I could. It felt nice to talk to other fans who have the same passion, the same interest in something that I love, which is Le Mans and also endurance racing as well. Like they were asking how you find an experience, and they were saying if there's anything you want to know, do not hesitate to ask away. If there's any questions that you want to ask us. Even if it's about like what teams they support, what drivers they support. Like they were pretty much an open book, is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, that you're with a bunch of like-minded people who have the same passion, have the same interest, and that was one thing I thought resonated. That was very similar to Indianapolis, where I find fans are there to welcome newcomers and are excited to show them this great event. And the locals at Le Mans, it's the same thing. They take such pride in that race. They want others who are coming to visit their town to have a good time and to see what it is that they see that is so special about this race and event. So I'm glad that you had that experience as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I was a bit, I will admit myself, I was a bit nervous because, not because it basically I was in another country, but just 'kay, I've never been to Le Mans before, so I was a bit nervous about going to different parts of the track just in case I got lost. But there's people, there was people there that were very helpful. Like basically, if I needed directions, I could just go up and ask, like, well, where do I go, say, like to find this, or how do I get to Arnaz, for example? I went back up to Arnaz for, I think it was the hyperpole session. Yeah, the hyperpole session on the Thursday. So I went back up to Arnaz for a bit, and then yeah, basically went back to, I can't remember the name of the straight as you're going up to Indianapolis, but I went back up to like the banking towards there, and just like just walking about and seeing like, there's a funny story I have to say as well. I don't know if you saw a picture of it, Ryan. I posted it on Twitter that I was watching up in the banking during practice on the Wednesday, practice one, and there's two two guys that had a sofa with them, like basically just having a couple of beers and that, and uh, I was chatting away to them, and basically they actually came up. One of them came up to me and asked like, "Oh, he's like, I recognise you from somewhere." I'm like, "Okay," and then basically they asked me, "Is like, oh, you host a podcast, don't you?" And I'm like,
No way.
Well, I was like, "What?" I was like, I did not expect to be asked that. So they were chatting away, and they were saying like, "Oh," like just basically giving feedback and saying like, "Oh, we think we should do this or do more of
Mm.
this," and it felt like, obviously, like when it comes to feedback, I'm always open to listening to people, like because it's the only way you're going to improve. There's no, I've never taken it personally, but it just, I was I was stunned in a way, but when they said that to me, is when they said they recognised me, and I'm like, I didn't. It wasn't like an awkward feeling, but it just felt I was stunned, but it
Yeah.
felt cool. It felt cool at the same time. And then they asked me, "Oh, do you want to sign our sofa? Like basically sign my name in it?" And I was like, "What?" So yeah, I'm kind of like just talking about it. I'm still stunned about it, but I thought that was so cool. Just basically just getting to chat to fans, and that was probably, oh man, it still stuns me right now talking about it. But that was so cool. And
Yeah.
then going back to the race as well. It obviously watched the Saturday as well, and then basically went to again different parts of the track, and then obviously because it was so warm, I went back to where I was camping just to try and get some shade because yeah, it was very hot, and I think a couple of other people as well were or some other people were struggling with the heat as well, and basically they were saying at the track as well, if you can basically drink as much water as you can just to try and stay hydrated, and I think I definitely done that. Drank a load of water. I dread to think how much I drank as well. I was pretty much drinking water non-stop just to try and keep myself hydrated. And then yeah, woke up on the Sunday morning, which is another funny story. I went to sleep at about 1:30 in the morning, and I thought, yeah, I'll try and maybe get 3 hours sleep or 4 hours sleep. Try and get up for like the sunrise, say like part of the race when it gets to like 6 o'clock in the morning, and then silly me, I don't know if it was the heat it took it out of me, but I never woke up until like 10:30 in the morning. I was like, oh, I was like, yeah, I thought it was maybe like 7:30 in the morning. Looked at my phone, I'm like, oops. So I was like, yeah, I better get back up and watch the end of the race. And yeah, the team I support, the Heart of Racing, they were leading the LMGT3 with the 27, and I think the 23 was in third place at one point, not too far behind. So yeah, I was like crossing my fingers, thinking that could this be the year that we won at Le Mans, and yeah, unfortunately, with two or 3 hours to go, the 27, like I say, retired with a I think it was a broken gearbox or gearbox problem anyway, and yeah, I was kind of in that kind of like despaired state of mind. I was like kind of like basically kind of not gutted, but when you but a team you support, you like basically it kind of felt like a punch in the gut if you like. But
Mm.
we still had the one car excuse me, one car in the race with the 23 with Eduardo Barrichello, a name that again you recognise from racing in the IMSA WeatherTech Championship. Uh, Also, Johnny Adam, another fellow Scotsman of mine and someone that I've supported for a long time. And then also with a name that I know you're familiar with, Ryan, from racing in the GT World Challenge America last season, I think, with Grey Newell. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's talking of Grey as well. It's good to see him racing in the WEC this season. I mean, I think I've watched him come up through GT4 America, and then obviously last season he made the leap to GT World Challenge America, and then this season I think I respect him for making the leap to racing in the WEC. I mean, the WEC is full of top talent, tough competition, and I think Gray at Le Mans especially his stints were very impressive, and I think he did. I think it was during Spa, or was it? I think it was at Imola. Some people were giving him sticks, saying like, "Oh, he's too slow. He shouldn't be racing in the series." And I was thinking to myself, it's like you've got to give him a chance. I mean, it's his first proper championship, if you like, racing against tough competition. You've got to give him a chance to get up to speed. And I think I've noticed this with the sports car racing fan base as well. But I don't know if you've noticed it. That I think the behaviour from some fans can be a bit, I wouldn't say toxic, but it can be a bit kind of, yeah, a bit harsh, a bit of a like keyboard warrior behavior if you like.
Oh, I think that sports fans in general, I don't know that I would say it's unique to sports car racing. And in fact, I think typically I have found the sports car racing fans to be a bit more generous than fans of other sports. But it does exist, no question. As far as Gray is concerned, I think actually, first of all, by his own admission, this was a big jump, and it's something it's taken him a little while to get used to. But I do think the format of these longer races really suits him in a way that GT World Challenge did not. necessarily, which were shorter races, 90 minutes, in the time that he was there. And so his time behind the wheel was less than an hour. And I would say that his strength was not necessarily an outright pace, but rather in consistency. And he could be pretty quick all of the time. There are others who can be very quick, but only some of the time. And what you really want out of a bronze in an endurance driver role is to be reasonably fast and mistake free, be able to knock your drive time out, and then let the pros do the rest. And I think he is really well suited for that. We've seen him at Spa and certainly at Le Mans took a big step forward. And for him to get second in his Le Mans debut, I read a quote from him saying that this was beyond anything that he expected coming into the season. Excited to see what the future holds for him and that whole team.
Yeah, and I think especially as well, I think especially what him and his, I think his dad's involved with the team as well. I think in a way, I think I can't remember how much he's involved, but I think correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. I think they were the reason I think the Heart of Racing got involved with the Valkyrie program, and I
Yeah,
think
that's right.
you have to take your hat off to them and respect them for that because I guess they're putting in a lot of money into the program, and I think again I've noticed a lot of harsh criticism for the hypercar program and IMSA at least because people are saying, oh they shouldn't be racing, they're too slow, they're too far off the pace, and it's like I'm I'm trying not to get frustrated in a way because I think some people that kind of give them a hard time. Yeah, they're not up at the front challenging for wins or regular podium finishes, but you've got to remember it's still a relatively not new program, but it's hard to explain. But I just think when it comes to that sort of fan behaviour, it needs to be called out.
Well, I'll stay out of that one, but I wasn't involved directly in the conversation. But what I can say is it's a team that works awfully hard. They're much smaller than some of the big factory teams, that's for sure, that are running these programs, and they've not run a car with this level of complexity. Admittedly, it doesn't have the hybrid system like most of the cars that it's racing against, but even still, this is orders of magnitude more complex. They're running this program across multiple series on multiple continents, which is not an easy thing to do. And I'll echo your sentiments where I give a lot of credit to the Newell family, Gabe Newell, Gray's dad, who's the finances behind this, the team owner, and really the reason that this program exists. I'm so glad that they did because it gave us what I think is going to be remembered as one of the most iconic cars of this golden era of sports car racing. No disrespect to all the other cars, but there's only one that looks and sounds like the Valkyrie does, and it really stands out in this day and age. So I'm glad that they were willing to accept the challenge. I'm glad that they're willing to keep fighting the good fight, and I do think they're making progress. You talked about the qualifying effort that we saw from the Valkyrie at Le Mans. They're getting closer at IMSA too. They have not done any updates to this car yet, unlike just about everybody they're racing against, right? They haven't done a single Evo Joker on this car. Those are coming for next season. So I do expect them to take another step forward. And I guess final point would be the driving lineup doesn't really have prototype experience either. So you've got a team that doesn't have experience racing at this level, drivers that don't have experience at this level, and a car that is dramatically different, not just than anything the team is used to, but anything else that's in the class, whether we're talking about hypercar and WEC or GTP at IMSA. It's something of a unicorn. So that's an extra challenge for the series to try and manage the balance of performance and things like that. So, look, in time, I do think they'll take further steps forward, and in the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy the fact that we've got a V12 racing again, which I'm not sure that I would have expected a couple of years ago.
I mean, I'm happy to see a V12 back as well. Just e- even at Le Mans as well, listening to that car going by, just listening to that that
Hmm.
V12 rumble going by, I'm like, just it got me excited, and I was so glad to see it in person. Finally, see it in person, and obviously moving to Sunday as well. And like I say, unfortunately, one of our cars retired, and I think on the Sunday as well, towards the end of the race, I think this must have been about the final 10 minutes or so. I started getting really. I don't know if you experienced it as well, Ryan, but I started getting really like emotional, not just because I was getting to see my the team that I support in person finishing on the podium in class, but I was also getting to see Lauren Heinrich winning his class at Le Mans with George Kurtz and Alex Quinn, and I think getting to see that in person, it kind of it got to me in a way as well. It made me like really emotional, basically thinking to myself, like I finally got here to watch in person, and I'm seeing like the team I support finishing on the podium in class, and seeing one of my favourite drivers winning his class at Le Mans in person, and it's just it sounds a bit cliche, but you couldn't make it up.
Right, right. No, that must be really special to be there from a fan perspective and to have people and teams that you have a vested interest in having success. I think for me, the thing that makes this event stand out is, as you know, in that final hour, that for someone or some group of someone's, their life changes forever in a meaningful and positive way when they come out on top in this race. It completely changes the trajectory of their career. It changes the way that they're thought about in terms of the legacy within the sport. And there aren't many events in sports where one single day, in the case of Le Mans, or one single race, whatever, it can have such a profound impact on a person's life and on a person's legacy such a positive way as well. So that to me is where the emotion creeps in that final hour, knowing that for someone this is a dream coming true, or the culmination of a lifetime's work, or the perfect send off to a career, or the perfect jumpstart to a career, right? This has such a profound way of shaping what's to come for these people who pour so much into the sport, and yeah, that is really what separates Le Mans from just about any other race.
Absolutely, and then basically the end of the race, I think yeah, I kind of the end of the race it was finished, and basically I kind of said to my friends as well, I'm just going to take a walk around and just by myself, and because I just needed the. I know it'll sound silly, but I kind of needed like time to myself just to kind of like reflect and take it all in because it was I wouldn't say I felt overwhelmed, but it's more like I say I felt a bit emotional and just kind of like need to kind of like sit and take it all in and kind of just like reflect on like how much I enjoyed it, and but it felt in a way, but obviously yeah, like I said, I can't remember if I mentioned it on the previous episode, but yeah, my mum wasn't around to experience it, so not getting to like share it with her was yeah, it was a very hard as well. So is that was why that's why I kind of felt like I needed some time to myself. Like basically, like yeah, it's like basically I'm not going to. I'll get home, but basically I won't get to like share the experience with her. So it's yeah, it was one of those kind of like hit me hard moments, sort of things. So yeah, there's but yeah, I kind of managed to get myself back together and basically yeah, I guess basically went and had a like basically caught back up with my friends, kind of caught up, and basically we were just talking about the race, and basically they were asking, "Did you enjoy it?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'll be back next year." So yeah, well I say hell yeah, but I'm trying to keep it like a clean version, so
Right.
just in case any kids are listen to this at some point. So, but yeah, I'll definitely plan to be back next year if everything comes together, and then yeah, moving on as well. That there was a couple of questions that I got they sent asked as well or sent in that the people wanted to ask you,
Sure.
and one of them was it's an interesting question, but and it's one I've wanted to ask as well is regarding like mental health as well in motorsport. Do you think that mental health get is there enough being done to not promote mental health, I guess, but more to like show that yeah that basically I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. Basically, do you think that enough gets done to like say like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with opening up if you're having a bad time or you're not feeling yourself, or I mean, for example, I even said this to a friend on the way back. Not not to a friend that I was coming back to Le Mans with, but a friend that I chat to sometimes on Twitter, and I basically said like, oh, but myself, I go through like some bad patches of like feeling like high and then low, and
Hmm.
on the when I got home as well, it must have been a couple of days after that I had a really bad like spell where like obviously I can't attend IMSA races like regularly because obviously like that would be very expensive, but I kind of felt in my mind that I'm not a proper sports car racing fan or WEC fan or IMSA fan because I'm not like attending races regularly. So I even said to my friend at the time I felt like a bit of a bit of fraud or a fake or something like that. I know it's a stupid thing to say, but it's like I say, it kind of like got to me mentally, and yeah, it took me a while to took me a few days to kind of like build myself back up. But uh, do you think at mental health in general is there enough being done to, I guess, like show drivers or teams or fans that yeah, there's no shame in opening up?
This is not something I've really encountered a whole lot in my career in terms of people uh, needing that kind of help or and not getting it, or the other way around. On a positive side, I guess I haven't really encountered this a whole lot, so I can't weigh in with too much depth. I suppose the answer would be there's probably never enough that's done with things like this, and there should always be more done to make sure people know that they are supported, and that there are resources available to help if people are struggling from a mental health perspective. I do find the sports car paddock to be pretty friendly and open. I know from experience that when I've seen people struggling, by and large, the paddock comes around and rallies around to support, whether that's someone in the media or someone on a team or what have you. So I have found it to be a pretty healthy place to work, all things considered. But there's probably more than can be done, especially when it comes to the athletes that are participating. There's so much pressure on them, and there's always the perception, incorrect as it is, but the perception of weakness if you raise your hand and say, "Hey, this I'm not right now." There's so much that does not incentivize a driver to do that because these seats are hard to come by, and the last thing you want to do is provide an opportunity for somebody else to step in. So I would like to think that with each passing year, more is done from the sanctioning body side to provide resources to everyone within the paddock. But by and large, as I said, I have found it to be a pretty healthy place to go and work, and I have found it to be a mutually supportive sport as well, by and large, with a few exceptions, but no workplace is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I would love to see like series maybe try and do more of by showing that basically yeah there's no shame in opening up if you're not, even if it's just like team members or say like media or photographers, commentators, whatever, anyone that's part of the media or just sports car racing or motorsport paddock in general, that yeah there's no shame in opening up, and excuse me, if you're looking for help but basically, or you need someone to talk to, by basically like come and talk to us. There's no shame in opening up, saying like, yeah, I don't feel like right mentally, or I'm just not feeling myself. I mean, like one of my friends I talk to regularly, she's always said like, yeah, I'm here if you need to open up. Basically, if you're
Right.
having a bad day, like if you need to unload or vent or rant or anything like that, or just like she's always said, dude, like never ever hesitate to open up, and like and it's I, I still struggle with that this thought in the back of my mind. I know like I've been told like never ever feel that way, but I always feel like when it comes to that, I always feel like I'm a bit of a burden if you like, because I don't in the back of my mind I think my mind makes me think or overthink or spiral if you like. It make to the point it makes me think, oh, people won't listen, won't want to listen to you by basically having a bad day or just not feeling yourself in general. Like in my mind that I always feel like if I'm having a bad day or open up to people, I feel like I'm a broken record in a way, like kind of just like going on about the same thing, and it's something that I'll happily admit that it's something that I still struggle with from time to time, and that's even after getting like therapy or counselling or whatever. So I think I think more could be done to promote it, and I think like you say, but on the other hand, maybe team members or media or whoever maybe feel like they don't want to open up in case maybe they'll lose opportunities or they might lose work or and then that just adds to like this even more stress.
Yeah, I mean that's a natural fear, I suppose, but I'd like to hope that increasingly people are more aware that there isn't any weakness in being open and sharing your problems and seeking the correct solution, whether it's medical or through therapy or just seeking comfort from a friend. In any case, anything that can be done to help, I'm certainly whenever I see someone struggling, I do my best to say, hey, if I can help with anything, let me know. And I know I'm not alone in doing that. Like I said, it's a pretty friendly place to go and work.
And then the next question as well was for IMSA as well. Actually, I think it was yeah, it was IMSA. In your opinion, what has been the best IMSA race of the season so far? So this could be like Michelin Pilot Challenge. It could be like the IMSA WeatherTech Championship, for example.
Okay. I, it's hard to top the end at Laguna for sure. That stint from Lauren Heinrich was pretty spectacular. Um, there's probably something else I'm missing. The end of the Pilot Challenge race in Mid Ohio was quite good, especially the TCR battle. The lead changed on the final lap. That was really exciting to see, and there was a lot of interesting strategy as well in the GS class. So I'd put that up in consideration. Hmm. Probably those are my answers so far, but in fairness, I hadn't thought about this in a little while, and I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about what's happened before. I'm already kind of on to the next thing. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask for a season retrospective, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think I I don't know what I would choose for my favorite moment of the or favorite race of the this season so far. I mean, there's been so many good races as well across the board in IMSA just in general. So some of the races I've watched in, for example, the like MX5 Cup, for example, like there's been
Yeah,
absolutely some fantastic races in that series,
always.
Especially at Daytona. If you've not if anyone listens to this and you've not watched the MS5 Cup series races at Daytona, go on YouTube, look them up because some of the some of the bump drafting battles are absolutely fantastic to watch, and some of the finishes are absolutely crazy. And I think for my favorite race of the season so far, I don't I think for my favorite race or yeah my favorite race so far this season it would probably be the finish to the Sebring, not in GTP, but I think
Yeah,
you mentioned it on Twitter after the day after the GTD finish between the heart between Tom Gamble and
yeah.
was it Antonio Fioco I think it was.
I think it was
It,
Antonio.
or was it
Yeah,
Alessio? I can't remember. It was a yeah the battle for the win in that class was fantastic to watch. I mean the end of it, I was gutted as a fan, as a
of
hard racing
course.
fan. But when you look at it in hindsight, I think the battle in general was just fantastic to watch, and it was just unfortunate that Tom Gamble made that mistake. But hey, it's you're always bound to make mistakes in the heat of battle because there's so much at stake. But yeah, the GTP battle or race, the controversy I guess it followed the between the two Porsche Penske teammates of Kevin Estre and Felipe Nasr. I guess it's a bit of a sour subject for some people. So it's kind of I talk about it sometimes, but I'm kind of like I have to watch what I'm kind of saying because I know some people that are Porsche Penske motorsport fans, and they obviously you have fans that are fans of Car 7 and Car 6. So I have to watch what I say, or in my mind I have to watch what I say just in case I don't, just so I don't cause any upset. So it's a subject I tend to avoid most of the time. But I think that race overall, I think it was a good race to watch. I think.
Yeah, Sebring is always good fun. That's my favorite IMSA event. I love the history of it. I love the fans that are there. As you know, a lot of people would say the maybe the Rolex is their favorite or Petite, but for me, it's always Sebring. That place is magic.
And then before we wrap up as well, I guess we'll do a bit of a recap on the. Obviously, you were at Watkins Glen covering the action with IMSA Radio, with pit reporting, and also being part of the excuse me, the commentary team as well. With you were commentating alongside the John Hindhaugh as well, and they also was Peter Mackay. Peter, that's a good. Sorry, but before we move on, I think Peter had a question as well that he sent in as well. I don't know if it's an inside joke as well, but he did ask me, what is it? How does it feel to be a Buick factory driver?
Okay, so the backstory to this is that at Petite last year, my rental car was a Buick SUV,
Uh,
and I turned up, and Peter was riding with me to and from the track quite a bit, and was making a joke that I seemed very excited about my Buick. And then I turned up at Daytona this year, and my rental car was the same thing. It was the Buick SUV again. So he decided that that I must be a Buick factory driver, and so we've been running with this joke for quite some time since then. I'm sad to say though, I've not had a Buick rental car for a few races now, so I need to fix that going into the next one.
yeah, I had a feeling it was a bit of an inside joke when he asked me. He asked me this morning on Instagram, so I thought I'll ask that question. And I had a feeling it was a bit of a joke and a bit of fun, so I thought I would ask. But
Yeah.
yeah, as we move back to Watkins Glen, like I mentioned, you were covering the action with IMSA Radio, and was it the races that I watched? It was a fantastic racing, and I think I especially enjoyed the Porsche Cup North America. Is it yeah, Porsche
Yes.
Cup North America races? I think that series I think doesn't get enough love, and I think it always produces great racing. And I think if we're talking about a driver that's impressed me so far, he's a name that I recognise from iRacing with working with him
Mm-hmm.
is Tyler Maxon. What's your views on Tyler? I mean, when you look at him, he's having an absolutely fantastic season.
He is. He is. He is in really firm control of the championship here at the halfway point. There's still a long way to go and things can change, but the season he's had, it's really hard to pick holes in it to this point. I've been covering him, believe it or not, since I think he was maybe 14 or 15. He was driving an MX-5 Cup car in TC America at the time and won a championship over there. And it's been fun watching him continue to grow, whether it's in a front wheel drive TCR car, now the last couple of years doing the single make Porsche racing, and in Carrera Cup North America this year. He's been phenomenal, and it's great to see his continued development. That series has produced so much good talent over the years that if you're winning a championship there, chances are you're going to be around the IMSA paddock for a long time to come. So if you don't know the name, get familiar with it. Tyler Maxon, I suspect, is going to be around for quite a while.
Yep, absolutely. And then obviously we had the excuse me, but I think as well the Lamborghini Super Trofeo series as well. That's the name. That's a series that I love watching because there's always fantastic racing throughout the field, and I think yeah, the racing there this weekend was fantastic. It was unfortunate in the second race on, was it Sat? Yeah, it must have been. I think it was Saturday, the last race. I
Yeah.
think but it was just unfortunate we had that big accident through the S's, and but I think it's just one of those things with there's so many cars close together. There's always bound to be an accident, and then it always seems to be the most common place that accidents happen, just because it's kind of like a tight section, I guess as well. But I've never been to the track, so I can only guess it from watching on the broadcast.
Oh, it is. It is, and it's tight. It's fast. There's a lot of elevation change. So when things go wrong, they go wrong in a big way. The cars that are coming up on an incident there, chances are they can't see it until they're already on it, and you're pretty much flat chat through that part of the racetrack. So really glad that the injuries weren't any more severe than they were. I know it's going to be a bit of a recovery for Brandon Godovic, and we wish him a speedy recovery, but that car took a ton of force broadside, basically a T-bone kind of accident, and the car held up as well as you could ask a race car to, given the circumstances. And yeah, I know it's going to be a tough recovery for Brandon, but I hope it's a quick one, and I hope we can see him in a car again soon. That was really scary stuff. Unfortunate because we lost a good chunk of that race. More unfortunate because of Brandon's injuries, and I think Avery Towns also had some minor injuries too, but not quite on the same level. But race one was very compelling, very competitive as you'd expect, with 41 cars taking the start there, and that championship just seems to be going from strength to strength. And next year we have the new Temerario Super Trofeo car to look forward to, which is exciting in its own right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, excuse me. I mean, the new Lamborghini GT3 car is definitely. I think it did take me a while to take to it, just because I've just been so used to was it watching the Lamborghini, the previous version.
The
I keep
Huracan?
forgetting Hurricane. That's it. I've just always enjoyed listening to that engine, and just
Yeah.
the looks of that car just always looked fantastic. But I guess again, it's just a sign of the times. I guess that you've got to move, and you've got to keep updating and moving forward. And I was kind of sad that they went away from the what was it they had in the Huracan? Was it a V10? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So again, just got to move with the times because of the I guess like stuff like regulations, and especially in the motor industry as well. So, but I think once they get some development underway under the belt of that car as the season goes on, I think that next season that car will be competitive. I think. I mean, in the hands of FAF Motorsport as well, they've been competitive, and I think if I'm correct, that car with FAF Motorsport took a podium finish. I think.
Yeah, Detroit. Yep, they did.
And so I think they're making progress. I think, and it's just a matter of it's the same with a new car. It just takes time to develop, and I think next season they could be right up there, or even towards the end of this season. Like they've proved an IMSA as well that they can be up there challenging for podiums.
Yeah, they're making progress. Some updates are coming to the car as well that should help with a few of its shortcomings, which again is not uncommon with the new car. The Mustang went through something similar, and there's plenty of other examples of it too. So yeah, with a little bit of work and some help from the sanctioning bodies, I think pretty soon that car should be a pretty potent prospect.
And then basically we're about pretty much coming up to halfway through the season. I think the next round is at is it Canadian Tire Motorsport Park with LMP2.
Yes.
LMP2 will be the top class. So are you making the journey over the border to Canada for that round, or are you busy with the SRO America?
I will be covering it, but a lot of the races I do remotely, and that's one of them. So I'll be sitting where I'm sitting right now, actually, and we'll somehow piece it all together that way.
And then before we wrap up as well, Ryan, is there anyone that you want to actually first? What's your plans for the rest of the season as
Hmm.
well going forward?
Well, full season with IMSA and with SRO America, so that's enough to keep a guy busy. But there are a few gaps, believe it or not, even in that schedule. And so most of them I've plugged with some work with IndyCar Radio. So I'm off to Mid Ohio this weekend for that, which I'm excited for. And I've also been doing some Formula E work, although that just came to an end for the season. The last CBS race aired last weekend. So done with that section of the calendar at this point. So at this stage, really just getting through the rest of the IMSA year. Looking forward to closing things down at Petit, but it's plenty of great races before then. You mentioned CTMP. After that is Road America, which is now a Michelin Endurance Cup round for the first time. 6 hours of racing at Road America sounds pretty good to me. Some excitement as well on the SRO side with the upcoming events there, including my home track at Indianapolis with the final edition of the Indy 8 hour. That race is shifting. The 8 hour race is shifting to Coda starting next year, so that's a little change on the SRO America front. And then a handful of IndyCar races. I think Mid Ohio, Portland, and Nashville are not in that order, but those are the three that I've got left here this year. And really excited about what the second half of the year has in store.
Great to hear. But Ryan, it's been great to have you back on the show as well for this special edition of the show, and it's been great to catch back up with you, and look forward to listening to your stuff on especially IndyCar Radio. IndyCar Radio, I've become a massive fan of, just because of the work that you, not just you, but the whole team in general do, because I think you guys done a great job, especially calling that final lap at the Indy 500. It just felt you could tell, I could sense the passion, I could tell, I could hear the passion in all your voices, and I loved it. I loved it. They basically say you were in the final corner, I believe, and then
Hmm.
basically you've got someone in turn one, and then someone down the back straight, and kind of like all the way around the track, and that's why I love the IndyCar radio because basically wherever you are, you can see the action, you can call the action, and that last lap, I loved it. I loved the passion you put into that because it actually it felt like the whole team had like genuine passion for the job that they do.
We do, we do. It's a phenomenal team. Lucky to be a part of it. Really lucky to be up in that spot for the first time. I had not been in turn four before, but a remarkable place to view a historic finish to a historic race. So that's one that I'll be remembering fondly for a lot of years to come.
Thanks for your time, Ryan, and look forward to keeping an eye out and looking forward to watching and hearing your stuff as the season goes on.
My pleasure, my friend. Let's do it again sometime.